Welcome to End of Life Conversations, our weekly wonderings, digest, what have you. This week, I think Ana Luisa came to us with something pretty potent, juicy, and pertinent. So why don't you take it away, Ana Luisa?
Yes. So I found an article this past weekend about a woman who was convicted of killing her mother in Colorado. The headline said Colorado woman pleads guilty to manslaughter in mother's assisted suicide. And it, ar- it arrested me because we do have medical aid in dying in this in this state, and she didn't use it.
Mm.
And so I sent the article to my friends here, and we were talking about it because, again, there's nothing wrong in ending your life. There's a movement to support people who are suffering either through terminal illnesses and, like in Canada, through depression.
Mhm.
So I'm curious to talk about, how did this woman end up having to pay these $25,000 to medical aid, dying charity, and complete 80 hours of community service?
And beyond
Because,
2 years probation.
yeah,
Yeah. Well,
how did
Yeah.
she get tried for this in a place where we consider this acceptable, the end
mhm.
of life? So let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's talk
Well,
about
and
it.
we've also interviewed one of our
Mhm.
podcasts a while back was with a woman who went down to visit her mom in Georgia, was it, or Tennessee? Uh,
Tennessee, yeah, I think
Tennessee, I
Tennessee.
think, yeah. And she, the doctor's orders there were for more morphine, and nobody was giving it to her mom, and so she gave her mom the dose that was called
Allotted.
for.
Yep.
Yeah. And her mom died. And then
Mhm.
some person in the hospice that she was in at the time, she thinks, I don't think there was any proof who did it, but somebody turned her in for murder, and the
Mhm.
police, and she didn't even know until months later. She
Right.
heard
Oh, I
that
Yep.
remember that story.
that she
Hmm.
had been, that she was, wanted for murder,
Accused. Yep.
right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
she, in her case, she had the wherewithal, the financial and the time and whatever, and the intelligence that she fought it and she got off. She was exonerated eventually. But
Yeah.
one of the things we talked about in that case was how different that can be for people who don't have those kind of resources, right? And this
Mhm.
may be better, more of a, this kind of case might be more like that. Maybe this person, if they'd had a lot of
Mhm.
money and resources, might have been able to fight this and win. But I think it does come back to this question of, do we honor people's agency at the end of life, and do
Right.
we allow them to make these choices? And there's so many different ways that one can end one's life. Um, and so,
But
yeah,
in this case, we don't know if the agency was actually taken away or if there was
right.
foul play. So
Yeah.
I'm going to settle into the spot that uh, she is not innocent in this.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that she probably should have been reprimanded more because there was no conversation with anybody who could tell us mom really wanted to die,
Mm.
and she just decided for herself. So
Well, yeah.
I think that it's so important for us not to keep these things to ourselves. If you want to use medical aid in dying or commit suicide, or what's it? Not commit suicide. It's
And your
to
own
end
life.
one's own life.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Whatever it
Yeah.
is,
Take your life. Yeah.
take your life. Whatever it is, I think you have to be very judicious about who you tell, how you tell it, and
Mm-hmm.
state your reasons, because it's not, things don't happen just kind of, it's secretive. This felt very secretive to me.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of speculation, right? Even the article
Mhm.
talks a lot about, what are the unclear things and what are the
Mhm.
motivations and things like that. Um, but I think there's some really like concrete pieces to this that we can talk about in the realm of, you know, assisted suicide,
Mhm.
medical aid in dying, things like that. Like you said, there's the question that there was will and inheritance money
Mm-hmm.
involved, and
Yeah.
that complicates things.
Mhm.
I think I read that there were there were text exchanges
Mm.
planning this, but that the evidence presented, as I understand it, was that the mother had requested this assistance.
Mhm.
Mm.
Mhm.
Mhm.
and then it was handled internally with a couple family members in
Mhm.
sourcing the means to end her mother's life.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and then there was a piece right at the end where, like, the character testimonies, of the assisted living where the mother lived said that she was suffering.
Mm.
Mhm.
There was a high level of suffering, and it was unclear in the article. I'm just gonna refer to it for a second here. Uh, Neighbors who lived in Millsy Roller's independent living facility also attended Friday's hearing. They told this news agency they were happy with the outcome and saw how much Millsy was suffering.
Mm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's sort of an unclear statement about whether they're happy with the court result
Yeah,
Right.
right.
or the result that she
That
was released
Millsie's
from her
yes,
suffering.
yes.
Exactly, yeah.
But like you're saying, Ana Luisa, there part of the issue is that they didn't seem to go through the the
The proper
channels
channels.
available
Yeah.
Mhm.
for medical aid in dying. I think it raises questions about, um, what is a terminal diagnosis?
Mhm.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, if you're aware that your state has these, maybe you're not even aware,
Yeah.
but
Right.
if you are aware, you know, do you make a prejudgment that mom's not terminal,
Mm.
and so they're
Yeah.
not going to give it to us?
Yeah.
And do you get more at
Yeah.
risk if you don't go through the proper channels? These are all just like, questions that come up for me that make this a muddy thing, and we're in such a new
Mhm.
realm of
Yeah.
this being an acceptable thing, and it's not available in all states. And so,
Right.
Yeah. Or yeah, around the world.
yes.
Yeah.
So scattering those seeds,
Yeah.
you you two who have lots and lots of experience talking with people about this,
Yeah.
and Ana Luisa, you're being in a place where this is part of part of the legal avenues. I turn the floor over to
Yeah.
you.
Well, you know what? I really appreciate all these, kind of comments about it's a very big orb that we're all having to look at, right?
Yeah.
I am curious, like, had she known that y Colorado has a medical aid in dying, you know,
Mhm.
route that people could take? Did she try it? Did she ask doctors? I think that as soon as you start telling doctors that mom isn't feeling well and she really just wants to be done, I mean, at least that information would have been double checked and
Mhm.
people would have said, you know what, this is a real thing. Mom is really struggling. So, uh, yeah. Are we
Mhm.
not curious enough? I don't know. It's also kind of crazy, right? You don't want to Google how can I kill my mom in the state of Colorado because you don't know what aspect of that is being carried off to
Sure.
some,
Yeah.
nefarious reaches. So I both understand the potential for having made this big snafu. And
Mhm.
also I'm a little disappointed that this person maybe not have taken the time to research this a little bit better.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And it does raise the question for all of us, really, and our listeners. How much do we understand about what's legal in our jurisdictions or
That's
what's
right.
available to us? And one of the things that's an issue in the country is that it may not be legal in your part of the country. But a lot of them you can, like Oregon and Colorado, at least you can move there and be a citizen
Right.
overnight,
Right.
and there are organizations available to help with all that. But people probably don't know that, right?
Right.
And so part of the big issue here is just education, letting people know, and finding a way to make sure people understand what's available, or what's available not just in their jurisdiction, but what's available around the country. And then the other piece of that is affordability. People,
Right.
only somebody with enough wealth is going to be able to travel to another state and book a place to be, and
Right.
pay for the prescription and all that. And then the third thing that occurred to me is that, and I've seen this, is that um, many medical organizations that your doctor might be a part of are based on a religious, or owned by a religious
Mm.
Right.
organization that refuses to do that. So you might
Right.
run into any one of those
Right.
issues.
Or
Um,
the assisted living homes actually
Oh,
also are
yeah,
very, pretty staunch about people aren't gonna be doing this in our place.
right. That's true
I
too.
just wanna clarify one piece, Wakil. If you are interested in medical aid and dying in Colorado specifically, you have
Hmm.
to live here for 6 months prior to
Oh,
being able
okay.
to access that as
All right.
an
Maybe it was
avenue.
Oregon then. I think Oregon was the one maybe who said you can come and join
You can
in.
just come, right, yeah.
Yeah, and
Colorado
be
is not the same way, so
okay.
you would have
Okay.
to be here 6 months.
Oh,
And
okay.
again, this is just exemplifies how every single county, state
Yeah. It's
aspect, it is going to be very different, and it behooves everybody to really research it or ask questions. I mean, the death and dying industrial complex does have people who will share information with you. I
yes, very
They'll
much
be
so.
like, "Yes, we can do this," or "No, we absolutely cannot." But there's
yeah.
Yeah, most of
websites,
the time.
there's all kinds of stuff that you can tap into.
Yeah. I know
And I've
back in the
also
day when this was first being talked about, people were saying, well, just go to Sweden,
Right.
or
right,
Switzerland or
right.
whatever, which again,
Yeah. They've
not a
got
Switzerland,
the
very
yep.
death.
practical solution for most
th-
people.
Right.
They've got the death pods.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And as we're talking about this, I also you touched on it a little bit earlier. One of you that the like asking somebody that can also be really scary if
Mhm.
if we don't have the language and if you
Mhm.
don't know how welcome that conversation is,
Right.
like the fear of saying to a doctor, I think mom's ready to be done, especially
Mhm.
in the way that the medical system is so obsessed with the preservation of life.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The fear of
Mhm.
like, oh, they're just gonna say, no, we're gonna do all these things
Right.
to try and extend life regardless of quality of life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wonder
And
if that's
and
something you
am
can
I
add
gonna get am I gonna get come
arrested.
under fire?
Right.
Are they gonna call the cops on me because I say my mom wants to die?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and this is, you know, a part that we may not wanna think about, because it's a value system for yourself, but does that go into your advanced care directive? So
Hmm.
that there will never be a doubt that, in my directive, I say if I'm suffering in these ways, either terminal illness, pain, or mental suffering from whatever, I will want to, I am open to the use of medical aid in dying
Hmm.
and, alleviate any of the pressures uh, of criminality for any of my family
Hmm.
members or where I'm
Right.
staying, right? I'm sure people don't think about it that far in advance. I know that when I talk to my children about this, I have both an ethical and a theological reason why I wouldn't choose medical aid in dying,
Hmm.
but I would use the stopping of eating and drinking. So,
Hmm.
my kids know that if I get to that point, I always tell my daughter, if I forget to ask to eat, just don't feed me.
Right.
right.
That's a good way to draw that line.
Yeah,
That's
it
Right.
really
really,
is.
really clear. If I can't remember that I need to eat,
Yeah.
it's don't
Yeah.
don't remind me,
Well,
please.
and, she's always 'cause, there are times when I'm talking to her and we talk about, if I get dementia or Alzheimer's,
Hmm.
that, she's welcome to leave me in the woods hiking, and I probably will go back to the earth in a very
Find your
natural
way
way.
home.
But she's like, "I don't wanna get, charged with your murder or elder
Hmm.
abuse."
Yeah.
And so this exemplifies, that as a potential for all of us who really do wanna give our loved ones agency, but haven't told people, like,
Hmm.
this is what they want, or I say, this is, don't feed me.
right.
If I forget, don't feed me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you said before, and I love it, that the idea that, if I'm in the woods and I tip over, just roll me off the trail.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, yeah.
but it
But
occurs
good
to me,
Samaritans
yeah,
happen.
yeah, exactly. Well, or, some poor hiker down the road might find your bones and go, what the fuck, and then,
Yeah,
then we got then the police show up. Right.
right,
So, and then, yeah, so that's, as much as I love that idea, I do
right,
think you'd have to be very specific to say in your advanced care directive, this is what I want to have happen.
right.
Let
Mhm.
me leave me in the woods, and that's my
Yes.
choice. And
I wonder if we
but
could do that, actually. I wonder if that would be a thing. Although, my daughter would be looking for me and, like,
yeah,
there would be all these kind of like, uh, I was gonna say shoots and ladders.
Logistical
Right.
challenges.
Like,
Yeah.
"Mom's here, but,
Yeah.
oh, here's she's coming back."
When you were talking about that, I was like, man, how would you mark your body or
Right,
carry something that
right,
said, "This was my choice, there's no
right,
foul play"?
right.
Yeah.
Do you get
Yeah.
like a medical grade implant that even if all they find is your bones, there's a little plaque that you've
Says,
had implanted in your arm that says, "I chose this, it's okay."
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I think, again, this is really hard because people don't generally have those and or professionals don't look for them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, what does it mean? I get an advanced care directive plan, I sign it, and it's notarized, and it's not decimated, it's given out to
Dispersed.
disperse to all the people who it would potentially affect,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Friends and family and doctors.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and we know we've heard many stories, and that once you're gone, it's like people may or may not pay any attention to what you wrote down. That's why these conversations are so important to just
Right.
allow the people to understand that what you want and get to the place where they are comfortable with what you want and will do what you want. And that
Right.
doesn't happen just by writing it down and signing it. You really have to have the conversation with those people. So
Right. And it changes, right? Like,
yeah,
I mean, I say this now, and I mean, I don't think I'm gonna change my mind, but I wanna encourage people to say, like, what you say today and you've signed,
yeah,
it's a living t will, it's a living document. You can change your mind. It's
yeah,
okay. You
yeah.
could also change your mind in a different direction, right? Like, but talk to people, record yourself. In
Mm,
this day and age, there's really no reason why people don't have the facility to express their wishes via a video, a phone message, a text, an audio
mhm.
message. There's a lot of ways to get this information out to the people who care.
Yeah, yeah, and make sure they know it. And we talk about this when we talk about advanced care directives that, as you said, it's something to be changed. It has to be, since it's a legal document, you have to go back and have it signed again,
Right.
and note that the other one is no good anymore. But
Right.
you do, and you have to talk to everybody, like you said, you have to make sure the doctors and your loved ones know
Mhm.
this is a new one. But yeah, I mean, given that those opportunities or those ways that we have to record what we want and make sure people know what we want, this kind of thing where somebody dies at the hands of their children, um, could be avoided altogether.
Mhm.
If that
Mhm.
conversation had happened, and if people
Mhm.
knew about what was available in their jurisdictions. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Now let me ask you this, do you think that she was charged with manslaughter, and she's doing community service and has to pay $25,000 to a medical aid charity?
Mhm.
What do you think about that?
I think that's actually I think that it is a good example of restorative justice and
Mhm.
like an educational punishment.
Mhm.
Mm.
Like the money goes directly
Mhm.
to furthering the resources
Right.
of the system that the state says this is where you
It's
should have
okay.
gone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This
Yeah.
is where you should have gone to have this conversation, and it enables them to research more,
Yeah.
expand their scope, ask these questions, that sort of stuff. And did it say where she did the community service, or if it was just you got to do some community
She didn't
service?
s it didn't give a
It didn't
specific
say
place.
8 hours of community service. I mean, I think
8
that's
hours is not a lot. Oh,
80.
80 hours, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a lot. Yeah.
that's a lot.
Well,
But
Yeah.
I think that's actually a really fantastic model
Mhm.
for something like this where, I mean, it there's the pieces of presented suspicion from the prosecution because they're
Mhm.
vested
yeah.
in painting a narrative of wrongdoing and malfeasance and
Hmm.
manslaughter and intentional, there
Mhm.
was money involved, all that, and we don't know.
Right.
That's the murkiness
Hmm.
of a legal thing like this.
Right.
But and the thing, it said even the judge was like, I might have done the same thing
Yeah.
Hmm.
in her situation, and so that indicates to me you know, that there's a high chance of honest mistake and lack of education, or all
Mhm.
of these things that we've been talking about that complicate this issue. And just in general, moving towards a restorative justice model of,
Yeah.
like, give back to your community,
Right.
do things that directly relate
To
to repairing and
Hmm.
expanding what you've
Yeah,
opened
Yeah.
much
step
better
to.
than throwing her in jail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Although, the way mom died was with a plastic bag over her head and nitrogen gas bottle. I
Mhm.
mean, again, that's just so weird.
Mhm.
It's like it I don't
That's how
know.
they do it in Sweden. I mean, nitrogen is a
I thought that
uh,
was pills.
no, and nitrogen, those little pods
Uh-huh.
that you can get into. You get in and you push a button, it fills with nitrogen because it's like
Oh,
it puts you to sleep. It's very
right.
painless. So,
Okay.
um, so that's I think they probably did that research. Probably did look up how to kill
Right,
mom.
right. Which also brings up, that further complicates the narrative
Yeah,
of you've done a certain level of research, you've taken a certain level of
yeah,
risk in asking those questions on the internet, where you're at risk of being traced and all of those things.
Right.
And so why didn't you go in these other directions?
Right.
Um, but
and I
man, this
also think
stuff is messy.
it
It
I
is
is.
really
really
It
want to come back
really,
to,
messy.
like, this stuff is messy and we don't have really good, consistent tools or education
Right.
or
yeah,
resources to
yeah.
help guide us in these journeys. And it leads to these kinds of really messy, tragic
Mhm.
situations.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I'd agree. And as to your question about whether that was the right punishment or not, I don't tend to, well, not I wouldn't say this all the time, but in this case, when I read, um, it doesn't feel like something I would question the process. It feels like they did the process. They did it, it was done the
Yeah.
way it's supposed to be done. And I agree, it's closer to a restorative justice model than the
Oh, I
normal
agree.
incarceration model.
I agree.
But
I'm not
yeah, no.
beefing with that piece. It's like um I don't know. I would like to continue to hear this person's,
Yeah.
story. Like,
Maybe she'll come
Mhm.
talk to us.
did you learn something? Like, what, how are you
Wouldn't that be
supporting others?
cool?
Or,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just really interesting to me. But you're right. It is restorative justice. And yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mm.
Yeah. I think we also, when we talk about end of life choices, one of the things that comes up a lot, and we've heard it here, is people might choose that because they define the thing they don't want to have happen at the end of life is somebody having to take care of them, right?
Right.
Somebody have to wipe their butt, and that's the
Right.
line, they don't want to cross. Um,
Mhm.
and yet, again, I think that's something we could spend a lot more time talking about as companions on the planet. It's like, well, I don't mind wiping your butt, and I did it when you were a child. I'll do it now, So just kind of that's another stigma I think that people kind of have. It's like
Mhm.
I don't want to be a burden to my
Right.
family or to my beloved.
Mhm.
So when I become a burden, sign the papers.
Yeah.
Um, so I think that's something else we could spend time thinking about together as a community, or with our loved ones. So really, what is that line that you don't want to cross, and is it legitimate? Really, because we'd be happy to
Mhm.
wipe your butt.
Mhm.
So
That's
Yes and no. It's kind of hard too because I
yeah,
just had a friend whose dad passed away last week, and uh, I don't know that it was over the dignity piece. It was his anxiety. He was up all night,
mm,
and so nobody was sleeping.
oh yeah,
And right, like it's not always just the physical act of caregiving.
hmm,
Um,
the burden part. Yeah,
it's the burden part. It's the
yeah,
unknown, and especially when people don't know what they're embarking on.
yeah,
Right? Like it was my friend and her stepmom, and I kept telling her, it's like, when your stepmom is in charge at that moment, you need to sleep. You need
mm,
to rest.
yeah,
Because she was like, "Oh, I need to clean the house and I need to do this. We're so behind," because the house was filled with detritus from 50 years of living in the same place.
hmm,
mm,
And she wanted to get ahead of that, but I'm like, "You don't need to do that now.
mhm,
right,
You
mhm.
have to get rest. You have to pretend he's a baby and you rest when he rests because you don't know what the end will be. You'll be up for 24 hours with an anxious person or whatever. So
Mhm.
I think at some point we need to talk about what it could look like. And there's, again, a spectrum of what it looks like at the end of life.
Mhm.
And not having this information makes people make choices on both sides. Like, I don't want my kids to take care of me, and also it'll be easy, or it'll be too hard, or I don't know what's going on and such. So, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
yeah, I think,
hard.
and the there is that complex dynamic of of allowing ourselves to be more vulnerable
Mm.
and also honoring a person's lines.
Mhm.
Like, if the loss of ability to care for one's own hygiene is a really hard line, we can't force, we can have conversations and encourage people maybe
Mhm.
to be okay with that, but I don't even know if that's an appropriate course of action to
Mhm.
try and pressure somebody
Mm.
Mhm.
into into a level of vulnerability that they're really not okay with. And if
Mhm.
that's their line, to just say, I get that. That
Mhm.
that makes a lot
Right.
of sense, that once you can't care for your
Right.
physical form, you know,
Yeah.
if I can't remember to eat,
Right. But there's
don't force me to
that's
eat.
right. There's also the flip
That's
side of
what it
that, right? So in my
Mhm,
friend's situation, her dad was adamant that he didn't want to go into hospice. Like,
Mhm.
he's got terminal cancer, and he weighs more than the my friend and her stepmom, and
Mm.
he was becoming incontinent. He was becoming very anxious all night long, waking up very upset and screaming,
Yeah.
and they were trying to figure out meds. These 2 women were alone with him, and I said to her, "My friend, it's just like La Leche League says about breastfeeding. When it's not okay for one participant in this relationship, it's okay to say no more." I was
Mm.
like, "So when it becomes overwhelming for you and your stepmom to continue caregiving, I don't care how much he, is upset, you need to get help.
Yeah.
You
Right.
need to go where you're safe. Somebody's not gonna fall trying to take him to the bathroom
Mhm.
or not sleeping for days on end." So, it's so
Yeah.
wildly, there's a lot of places along the spectrum that we all need to be very honest and clear-headed about what we're willing to take on.
Yeah, yeah, it takes a real deep sensitivity and compassionate
Mhm.
listening and paying attention, and the worst thing that can happen and the worst thing that happens over and over is it just doesn't get talked about at all because it's
Right.
right.
hard. Like we're saying, there's a lot to it. It's very hard.
Mhm. Mhm.
And people just instead of dealing with hard, they just say, "Oh, let's just not pay attention to
Yeah.
it," you know.
Or
It
just keep
maybe
going.
not
We'll
go
just
that's right, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
or keep going as is and
It,
hope that it'll resolve on its own,
Right, or
yeah,
family
whatever
members
that
will show
means.
up, or,
Yeah,
everybody's
exactly.
something,
hopeful
yeah.
that something will help them. I have to just tell you, I am planning my trip that I'm leaving for in a few weeks, and so I joined Trusted House Sitters. I'm gonna see if I can house sit different places so I
Uh,
for my place, and I just had a conversation this morning with a woman who has 2 dogs, 1 elderly dog, and I asked her, I was like, "What's the hardest thing about taking care of your space?" And she's like, "Oh, it's my 17-year-old dog who is incontinent, and she's up all night trying to go to the bathroom, and then if she soils herself, you need a cleaner." And, we went on and talked, and I said, "I am under-resourced, and I'm not capable of taking care of your elder dog. I appreciate this offer to stay at your house, but, I have a very large caregiving uh, bundle here in my personal home that I was looking forward to just, having ease on this trip that I'm taking, so I'm unable to do this." And she was great. She was like, "Thank you so much for being honest." She's like,
Yeah,
"Because," and that's the same thing we need to bring into our loved ones as they're aging, be very aware of where you're at and how much
yeah.
resource you have personally to be able to give to others. And sometimes it's really easy for me. I don't mind, but I need a lot of rest these days, and
Mhm.
yeah, it's you gotta be I think the question we always ask people, "How do you resource yourself?" is really legitimate
Yeah,
in all this package of end of life.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's true even if you're not talking about end of life, right? Just like you
True.
said, caring for the day-to-day life when you're raising kids or you're
Right.
working or you're just trying to, get enough money to buy dinner, I mean,
Right. There are
all of
different
those
levels.
all of
Mhm.
those different places are places where we have to pay close attention and be willing to look at the hard stuff and talk about it and deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's been a fun conversation.
As usual.
As usual.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it brought up one that we might think about another time, is to talk more about what does it look like when somebody's dying.
Yeah, let's do that, because I think it's important.
Yeah, because I think it would help people. And I've seen some good talks about that, so we could riff off of theirs, or we could make up our own, or whatever. But so till next time, everybody, thank you for being here.
Yes.
Please subscribe, tell all your friends, and we'd love to see you next time.
And we'll put the interview
Article.
with the article and the conversation that we had with the lady who came under fire for her morphine thing. We'll put that episode in the show notes too.
Yeah.
Yes. Perfect.
All right.
Lovely.
Adios.
Adios.
Conversations about the end of life.
Thank you for joining us today. Thank you to Charles Heaston, the composer of the original music you are listening to now.
And of course, thanks to you, our audience, and all of our amazing guests. Please come back next week for another great episode. Share this with your friends, family, and community. We hope you will subscribe and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Substack. Each guest's additional information will be found in the podcast notes. And of course, if you have a good end-of-life story to share, please reach out. We are always eager to hear from you.